Alright, so today we're going to go over how to play your first notes on the trombone and how to breathe properly and how to buzz those notes on your mouthpiece. Okay, and I kind of introduced it backwards. What we're actually going to do is we're going to learn how to breathe, then we're going to do our mouthpiece, and then we're going to do the instrument. Okay, now you notice I already took my instrument out of the case, and that's okay. It's on a soft surface, it's not on the ground or anything, so it's fine just the way it is. And right now, what I want you to do is if you have your instrument, go get it and get it out and kind of lay it on the ground like this, or just leave it in the case. So pause the video if you haven't done that yet. Get your instrument, get your beginner band binder, and we're going to be eventually by the end of the video going through lessons 1, 3, and 5. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to learn the notes D, C, and B flat, but we're going to do it backwards for the trombone because it'll make sense later. It's more natural to go that way. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice breathing, okay? Now in the last video we talked about posture when you play your trombone. What you want to do is sit not all the way back in your chair. You want to sit kind of where your back has nothing to rest against. See, there's nothing for my back to sit on. So it's straight up, pull your shoulders back, and when you breathe, you want to breathe with the O shape with your mouth like this, like that, okay? And when you breathe in, your shoulders should hardly ever go up and down. When I breathe in, I shouldn't go like this. That's breathing wrong. And when I breathe out, they shouldn't go like this. That's kind of dramatic. What we want to do is there's a muscle right here under your lungs called a diaphragm. And if you've never stretched it before, it's going to feel kind of funny. But what we do is we breathe and we stretch our diaphragm like this. You don't want to crouch like this, or it's just you sit up straight and tall and you try and expand your belly. And it's going to feel kind of funny at first, okay? So what we're going to start the video doing is practicing our breathing. All right, so I'm going to start a metronome. If you don't have a metronome, they're very good to practice with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start it, and we're going to breathe together in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. And we're going to do it a few times just to stretch our diaphragm. So find yourself a chair where you can sit straight up, preferably not the couch or the recliner, something hard. Mine's a little bit soft, but that's the best I could find. So maybe your dining room table or something, and something where you don't feel relaxed. You should sit straight up like this, okay? Now we're going to practice our breathing. I'm going to start our metronome. Okay? It's about as loud as it gets. All right, we're going to breathe in for 4 and out for 4. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. In. And out. And in. And out. And in. And out. Okay, so it may feel kind of funny. I'm doing this to a camera, so it feels kind of funny to me. But you want to be able to make a lot of noise with your wind, like is the goal. So you want to breathe as much as you can, those 4 beats, and out as much as you can, those 4 beats. And if it helps you, you can put your hand right here, and you'll make more noise, so you can tell if you're breathing more or less like that, you know? So that's practice number 1, is whenever you practice your horn, between this video and the next video, you should be doing this about 30 minutes every day, is you should always start with breathing. Focus on your diaphragm and making the noise with your mouth and always using a round O shape. Okay, so next we're going to get our mouthpiece and we're going to learn how to play our mouthpieces. With every brass instrument, that's instruments that have the mouthpiece part, the instrument itself is actually just an amplifier. It makes whatever you play on this a lot louder. So whatever we do, we should learn to play on our mouthpiece first, and then we'll put it on our horn. So one thing that I've learned when I was a beginner band in school was whatever you play on your mouthpiece, you can play on your horn. And if you can't play it on your horn or your mouthpiece, then you should be able to play it at all, right? So we're going to learn on here first, and if we can do it on here, then on the instrument should be really easy, all right? The hard part is the mouthpiece is a lot harder to play because there's no tubing on the end. And that makes whatever mistakes you make sound a lot harder than if you were playing it on the horn. So the first thing we have to learn how to do is something called buzzing. Buzzing is what makes all the noise in brass instruments, and it's vibrating your lip muscles together really fast to where the mouthpiece can make sound out of it. So when you learn how to buzz, your muscles aren't used to buzzing. They've never done it before. So it's going to take a lot of practice and maybe standing in the mirror and feeling really silly a few minutes every day. So when you practice your breathing and you've got your diaphragm stretched out, you get your mouthpiece and you practice buzzing. Okay? And the first time you buzz, you're not aiming for a note or anything like that. You're just trying to get sound to come out. And you don't want it to come out where you have to force it. Like that, it's not going to be a very good sound. What you want to do is learn how to breathe, and vibrate, and buzz, and we'll go over how to buzz in a few minutes. And whenever you put the mouthpiece up to your lips, the sound just comes out without you having to force it. And it's going to take a few days of practice. You may have a few days where you're trying to buzz and no sound comes out, and that's totally fine. Just remember to keep practicing it, and eventually you'll get the buzz to come out. Okay? So I'm going to go over how to buzz, and whenever you're following along in this video and you feel like you're dragging behind, just pause it and practice what I'm telling you for a few minutes, then come back and press play. Okay? So for buzzing, the trombone mouthpiece, it's a circle, and you have two lips. What you would naturally want to do is put the middle of the circle right where your lips meet, right here. But that's just a tad bit off. What you want to do is you want to put the middle of the circle of your mouthpiece where it's right on the smack dab center of your top lip, like that. So your bottom lip is going to be hugging the edge right here. And then the space between your top lip and your nose is going to be touching this right here on the top side of the mouthpiece, like this. Okay? And that, we hold our mouthpiece with 3 fingers just on the end, okay? We're very gentle with it. We're not grabbing it with our fists. We're not holding the whole mouthpiece like this. It's just 3 fingers right there, okay? And we hold it up like that. And we don't hold it straight out like this or straight out. It's just slightly tilted downward, just ever so slightly, like this. And so when we want to make a buzz, this is how we get our first buzz sound. We breathe in, and then when we blow, we just press our lips firmly together and force the air out. And the air will naturally make its way out and vibrate our lips together. And it's going to sound silly. And it takes a lot of air to do that, so you have to breathe a lot when you're buzzing. Don't forget to breathe. So now, if I want to buzz on the mouthpiece, I take it, and I want to buzz without it first and just slowly raise it up, like that. And I'll demonstrate. And that's how you get sound out. You don't want it to sound like this. That sounds a little bit weird. Or like this. That means you're trying to force the air out too much. It should just be steady and calm. Okay? And that's how you get buzzing sounds out of your mouthpiece. Okay, so now we're going to try and play our first note on the trombone. We've learned how to breathe and we've learned how to buzz. If you haven't been able to master those 2 things yet, breathing should come with just a few minutes of practice and you'll feel kind of dizzy and uncomfortable right here. That's okay. Buzzing, it may take a few days. So if you haven't gotten your buzz sound out, just watch this part of the video and keep working on your buzzing. If you want to just watch the rest of the video, that's totally fine and you'll know what to do next. But don't really try and do this part of the video until you've gotten your buzz sound worked out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just to where you can get a natural buzz sound out of your mouthpiece by itself without having to force anything like we talked about earlier, okay? So now, you should have your trombone with you, just like if we were at beginner band. We're going to put our horn together. So remember the bell in the left hand, and the slide in the right hand. We go together like that, and then we just screw it together. Just finger tight. So you're able to get it apart later. And now we're going to set it back down, and we'll get to it later. But now we have our trombone put together. Whenever you set your trombone down, this is a side note, put the side that your mouthpiece is supposed to have on the ground right here, then your tuning slide and your bell. So it only touches the ground in 3 parts. If you set it down like this, then your slide and everything will get scratched up, or like this, then you're scratching all this tubing. But if you set it like this, it's only touching in 3 little spots, so it doesn't scratch up as much. Now, we're going to try and play low B flat. It's the most natural note that comes out of your trombone. Whenever you put the mouthpiece in and don't touch the slide and buzz, low B flat is going to be the note that wants to come out. Okay? So, like we talked about earlier, we're going to learn how to buzz it first, and coming out of the horn should be really easy. Okay? So what I have is I just have a note on my computer that I'm going to press, and we're going to try and match the note coming out of the computer. Okay? And if it helps, you can hum it. Usually whenever you hum it, it's easier to play it, or listening to it, whatever helps you. Practice those different kind of things whenever you practice every day. Practice different ways of learning how to buzz. Okay? So this is low B flat. Okay? So we're going to breathe in, and we're going to try and match this note. Right? And in. And you might run out of breath really fast like I just did. That's okay. Just keep breathing and trying to match the note. It's that easy, right? Now, it may not be that easy for you, but I've been doing this for a little bit, so for me it's that easy. But if you don't get it at first, don't worry about it. Just practice, 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 okay? Now, we've buzzed a B flat, we've learned how to breathe. Now it's time to try and play a B flat on our horns. So if you have your beginner band book with you, get that out and flip to lesson 5. We're going to skip 1 through 4, don't worry. We're going to come back to them. But B flat is just more natural for us to learn first. So go to lesson 5 and hold your trombone like we taught in the first video. Put your mouthpiece in ever so gently. Okay? Now, we're not worried about notes or rhythms or anything. We're just going to try and get a B flat out of our horn. And remember, it sounds like this. Okay? Remember that sound. That's the sound we're trying to make come out of our horn. So, what you want to do is, mine's a little bit loose, so I'm going to tighten it. Is we're going to hold it just like we practiced, and then we're going to buzz without the instrument and slowly bring the instrument up to our lips. And whatever sound comes out, we're going to try and make it a B flat. Okay? So, don't forget, breathe with your diaphragm. So we're going to go. Okay? That's what it should sound like. Now you notice I kind of went, that's okay. What we learned later on is something called tonguing, and it'll clean up all that mess at the beginning of the note. But what's important right now is we're able to get the note out and hold it long and steady. Okay? So let's do it again. Okay? And that is B flat. So now we've played B flat, and we're fortunate enough that it's all the way in. We didn't have to move our slide one bit for that. Okay? So when you practice lesson 5, you shouldn't have to move your slide, and you just play B flat, and then you rest for a long time, and you play B flat. Okay? Now, we're going to learn something that makes the trombone a little bit unique, is for different notes, each note has a different position along the slide. Now, it may seem kind of scary at first because you don't know where the notes are, and you can't really go by ear because you don't know what the notes sound like. It's kind of scary when you start to learn the trombone because you just don't know where any of the notes are, and how to play any of the notes, but they come with practice. So I'm going to show you how to find all the positions, but for now we're only going to use 3 of them. And then once we learn more notes, we'll learn more positions. Okay? So, actually, you already know one position, and it's all the way in. We call that first position. Okay? If you need to pause the video and say first position to yourself and hold your trombone and look at it and say first position, first position, first position, that's fine. Now, remember, first position, B flat, and it should be in your position chart. Okay? So if you have your position chart in your binder, go ahead and pull that out and follow along. Now, there are 7 total positions. This is the first, and it makes sense that 7 is all the way at the end, okay? So every position is about the same distance apart. If this is first, 7th is all the way about as far as you can reach. When I was learning, my arms weren't as long, so I had to put it just on the tip of my finger and reach all the way out like this and barely holding on. Now that my arms have gotten a little bit longer, it's just my arm stretched out. So these things, it kind of varies from person to person on how long their arm is, on how far 7th position is. But a good rule of thumb is it's just as far as you can reach, okay? So now we have to find all the middle positions. If this is first, what we do is we flick our wrist, just like that. You flick it. And I'm going to hold it just a little bit wrong so you can see. You flick your wrist. Okay? And that's second position. And if we want to go to third, we flick it again. And notice it's close to the bell, but not quite there. Okay? That's where third position is. Fourth, if we flick our wrist again, now we've crossed the bell. It's not at the bell. It's about, now I'm going to say we flick our wrist a lot. So if you start here at third, remember we flicked our wrist 2 times, 1, 2, 3. We do it again, that's 4. If we do it again, that's 5. Do it again, that's 6. And then for a lot of people, 6 is as far as their arm goes. So 7, they have to use the tips of their fingers. Okay? So what you need to practice, we've already talked about practicing breathing and buzzing. We also need to practice our positions. Other instruments like trumpets and baritones, they have a little bit of help where when they push the button, they're already there. For trombone players, we have to practice how to push our buttons so that we get the right note out. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you can go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it may feel a little bit silly practicing your positions, but what you're doing is building muscle memory. So when you're reading music and you need to go to different positions that may not be right next to each other, like 1 to 5, you won't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll just know where it is. Okay? So that's how you find all the positions on the trombone. Okay. So now we've gone over the positions on our first note and breathing and buzzing. It seems like a lot for the first video of playing our instrument. But we're going to learn a couple more notes so that you have things to practice between here and the next video. Okay? So take your mouthpiece off and put your horn down like we talked about. And hold it just like we talked about. Now we're going to learn something called middle C. When we play treble clef as a trombone player, we kind of change the notes where we don't actually play middle C, we play below. And then when we play on the bass clef, this is called low C. And there should be a picture somewhere over here that shows you on the staff where these notes are. But so first we're going to learn what this C sounds like, and then we're going to play it on our mouthpiece, then we're going to play it on the horn. Okay? So this is going to be lesson 3 in your book. Okay. Okay, can everybody hear that? That's low. We're going to call that low C. That's low C. So let's get your mouthpiece out and let's play low C. Okay, now pause the video and practice that a little bit if you're having trouble, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. Let's put our mouthpiece back on our horn. And C is found at 6th position. Now you remember, this is 1st, 7th is as far as we can go, and we flick our wrist back in, and that is 6th position. So now we're going to try and play C, that note we just buzzed, okay? And this is lesson 3. And just practice playing that long tone and rest for a little bit and breathe, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and move on backwards to lesson 1, which is D, okay? Now again, there's going to be a picture that shows where D is on the staff. And what it is on the 3rd line of the bass clef. And it's above middle C ledger line on the treble clef, okay? And we call that low D. And it sounds like this. Okay? So get that note in your head. We're going to do it on our mouthpiece again. Okay, get your mouthpiece. We're going to play D. Okay. Now, whenever you feel like you're falling behind, feel free to pause the video and practice this. Now let's play D on our horns, and it's going to be in 4th position. So if we want to get from 1st to 4th, we flick our wrist 3 times. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And 4th position is where low D lives. Okay? And that's lesson 1, where you play D and you rest and you play D. Okay, so we've practiced a lot of things today, and I'm just going to sum it all up at the end and give you a to-do list to practice at home while you're waiting for the next video, okay? So far we've covered breathing, so whenever you start practicing every day until the next video comes out, you're going to sit up in your chair and start every practice by breathing. Start a metronome kind of slow, and just breathe in for 4 and out for 4, in for 4 and out for 4. And do that for a minute or so, or until you start to feel dizzy. And the reason you might feel dizzy is because your brain's just not used to that much breathing. And it's like, hey, chill out, man. But so just go until you feel dizzy, give it a rest, and then practice your breathing some more, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to find a piano or a tuner app or something that can make noise. So I used my computer. I just went to a website and I typed in online tone generator or online piano keyboard or something like that, and find B flat, C, and D, okay, and do it just on your mouthpiece. Try and hit all 3 notes on your mouthpiece. And if you have trouble buzzing, then go back to the beginning of the video and try and do just the plain buzzing where it doesn't have to be a note. And once you get that down, try and do those notes again, okay? And remember, always breathe with your diaphragm. If you practice and you forget about that, remind yourself, I should be sitting up straight and breathing with my diaphragm and not with my shoulders. We don't breathe with our shoulders. That's not good. Okay? Then once you've done that, you can put it back on the horn and practice lessons 1, 3, and 5. Okay? But I want you to do them backwards. So we're going to do 5, 3, and 1. We'll do lesson 1 where you play your low B flat, you rest, you play your low B flat again, and then rest. And in your lessons, it doesn't say for how long. It just says hold them out, then rest. What you should do is hold them out, and however long you hold them out, you should rest that long. So if you play your long note for 8 counts, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you should rest for 8, and then play for 8 again. Just be consistent, as long as it's a long note and then a long rest. So you have plenty of time to breathe and get ready again. Okay? And then do the same for C, low C, and then low D. When you practice these lessons, it will give you a chance to practice where to find your positions as well, okay? So practice that. This should be 20 to 30 minutes every day. It seems kind of simple right now, but if you practice a lot in the beginning, the later things will just be easier than they would be if you didn't, okay? So keep practicing, and we'll see you next time.